Hello, everyone, and thanks for listening and watching the Italian American Entertainment Podcast. I'm your host, Vince Chiarelli, and today we have the very talented singer, actor, and overall entertainment legend, Bobby Rydell. His career has encompassed 6 decades and counting, and Bobby first found success as a teen idol, selling over 25 million records. He went on to star on television, stage, and film, and is now the author of a best-selling autobiography, Bobby Rydell, Teen Idol on the Rocks, A Tale of Second Chances. So welcome, Mr. Bobby Rydell. How are you?
I'm fine, Vinny. How about yourself?
Hanging in there. And where are you located right now? I'm in the cold up here in Illinois. So where
Well, I'm in the cold too. We're right
are you?
in Philadelphia. Yeah,
Oh,
we're in the
okay.
cold and snow and
Yeah,
so on and so forth.
it's been pretty tough. But so how I usually start this, since it's about Italian Americans in the entertainment world, and you are Italian, where in Italy do you trace your ancestry?
My mother's mom and dad came from Abruzzi,
Okay.
and my father's mother and father came from uh, Provincia di Pesaro, which is in Marchi, right off of the Adriatic Sea.
Okay.
And my father's first name, my grandfather named him Adrio after the Adriatic Sea.
Oh, wow. That's a cool name. I never heard that one
Yeah.
before.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So, and many people don't realize that, as did a lot of people in that era and those decades, you changed your name to Rydell. So, what is your actual Italian last name?
Rittarelli.
Riddarelli. Okay. Well,
Rittarelli. Roberto Luigi Ridarelli.
we're in the Ellie club, I guess, because my last name ends with Ellie too. So
All
there we go.
right. LLI.
There we go.
You're
so
right.
getting into your music world, there's a lot to talk about, but we'll start with the music. So when did you start performing music, and what was your main motivation to get into music?
It was all because of my dad. If I had any talent in me whatsoever, my dad saw at a very early age, like 7 years old to be exact. And he used to take me around to nightclubs when I was 7, 8 years old. He would ask the
Wow.
club owner, is it okay if my son got up to sing a few songs and do some impersonations? And I would do that, and people would applaud. I was like 7, 8 years old. I said, wow, all I have to do is do this and they do that. What a wonderful feeling. So that was my indoctrination, to what later became my professional career in show business. It was all because of my dad.
Wow, that's amazing. And one of my questions, and we'll kind of go into that now, was coming from an Italian family, we all
Uh-huh.
know how strict they can be. So I wanted to know, were your parents supportive of music, which you just said they were, or they want you to go into a different path? So it sounds like they.
No, 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 no. Matter of fact, my mother used to say to my father, uh, my father's nickname was Ott,
Okay.
after the baseball player Mel Ott,
Oh, okay.
and she would say to him, Ott, what are you doing with the kid? Why are you taking him around to these nightclubs? And my father would say, Jenny, he's got talent. And my mother would say, well, what else are you going to say? You're the father, you know. But no, uh, at 10 years old, I was on a show called the Paul Whiteman TV Teen Club. I won on the show at doing a record that Sammy Davis Jr. recorded years ago to the song of Because of You.
Okay.
And one side he did singers doing actors, and the other side he did actors doing singers to the tune of Because of You. I did the side of actors doing singers, people like James Cagney, Edward G. Robinson, Jerry Lewis, and I won on the show.
Hmm.
So, they were they were behind me, especially my dad, like 1000%.
Wow, that's great. That's great. So you hit it pretty big in the music world, of course, and so we know so many budding young musicians and singers who would have loved to have some songs in their lifetime, but you were able to achieve, multiple hits. So what was it like for you to have so many hit songs, sell millions of records, but at such a young age?
Well, I mean, of course, it felt absolutely wonderful. But getting back to what I said earlier about my dad taking me around to clubs, at a very early age, it kind of was like my vaudeville. And it kind of got me ready for things that were going to happen later on in my career, in my life. And when things started happening for me, I think it all relates back to, once again, my dad who took me around to clubs when I was like 7, 8 years old. And of course, the feeling was absolutely wonderful, but I was kind of like almost geared for it. I was ready, for something like that.
Wow. So, were your parents first generation Italian Americans? Did they immigrate themselves, or was it your grandparents?
My grandparents, my
Okay.
mom's mom and dad, my dad's mom and dad. Yeah.
Okay. So, growing up in that Italian, family, were you brought up on the old school, Italian music, O Sole Mio, all the old stuff? And did you have like a big Italian
Well,
American influence that really influenced you in the music world?
not really all that much. My grandfather, my mother's father, from what I understand, prior to coming over from the old country, he was like in some kind of Italian vaudeville. And
Hmm.
my grandfather used to sing in the house. He used to love to dance, in the house. Uh, and really, that's about it. I mean, other than that, I mean, the music that I listened to when I was very, very young, my dad, when I was 5 years old, took me to see the Benny Goodman Orchestra. And
Okay.
I didn't know who Benny Goodman was, but my father wanted to introduce me to big band music. And I fell in love with it, immediately at 5 years old. And there was one guy in the band who I said, I don't know who he is, Daddy, but he was the drummer. I said, and I want to be that guy.
Hmm.
And his name was Gene Krupa.
Oh,
Who
sure.
was,
Yeah.
yeah, remember Gene Krupa?
Yeah.
And I started playing drums at 5 years old. So
Wow.
the music that I listened to was like big band and jazz.
Wow.
The only, we really didn't listen to too many Italian tunes in
No.
the family for some reason or another. Yeah.
Well, that's okay. So you're still in your teens, and you come up for the part of Hugo Peabody for Bye Bye Birdie. So, how did it feel to be a simultaneous teen idol in music and now also in film, and also in a film that became Academy Award nominated? How was that in your teen life?
Oh my God, it was absolutely wonderful, Vince. When I went out to California to screen test, I screen tested with Anne Margaret for the director, George Sidney. And prior to going out there, I went to see the play of Bye Bye Birdie. And my part in the play, I mean, Hugo Peabody didn't sing, didn't dance, had practically no dialogue whatsoever. When I screen tested with Anne, Mr. Sidney said, thank you ever so much. We'll be in touch. 2 weeks later, I got a call to go out to do the part of Hugo Peabody. And I'm thinking, wow, you know, I just saw the stage play and, Hugo Peabody didn't do anything.
Hmm.
But Mr. Sidney saw some kind of magic between Anne Margaret and myself. And every day that I went back to the studio, my script got bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point where the singing was involved, the dialogue was involved, and the dancing was involved. I've never been a motion picture star, but if there was one movie to be, associated with, I was very, very happy, to be associated with Bye Bye Birdie because it is a classic.
Yeah, no, it is. And so this, my wife and I were talking about this morning actually about being a teen idol in the 50s and 60s, and even though it must have been difficult for all teen idols, especially at that time, how do you think social media and other mediums that we have today, would have affected you as a teen idol if you were, take reverse roles and now you were a teen idol
Yeah,
today?
right. Wow, that's a good question. I really don't know. I mean, I look at somebody like a Justin Bieber,
Hmm.
who was, I don't know, 14 years old or
Right.
15 something. and his mother put him on YouTube.
Yep.
And overnight, he became a sensation and started making all kinds of money. I mean, money that was extraordinary for a 14, 15-year-old. And, I guess that was, kind of hard to handle, being thrown into the spotlight at a very, very early age and to be making the money that he was making. We didn't have that back then. We didn't have the social media.
Right.
What we did, we call it like woodshedding and paying your dues, to be able to do what I have accomplished so far in my career.
Sure. So the musical Grease comes along, and
Right.
they name the school after you, Rydell High. So was that something that you knew about beforehand that they
No, I
told
didn't.
told you
No,
about? Okay.
no, I knew nothing about it. And, of course, when the movie came out, and my dear friend, who I've known since I was 10 years old, he was 12. We lived right around the corner from one another in South Philadelphia. Was Frankie Avalon,
Okay.
whose real name is Avalone.
Sure.
And I went to see the movie, and there was Rydell High with the red banners and Rydell written, in white embroidery. And I said, wow, what a tribute, why Nate? Could have been Anchor High, could have been Fabian High, could have been Presley High, but
Right.
they picked me for some reason. And my God, of course, truly an honor.
No, it is. That's amazing. It's a cool story too that you really were surprised about it. So that's very cool.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, really. A lot of the young kids who don't know me, but they know Grease.
oh yeah.
And when they hear Bobby Rydell, oh, that's the guy who had the high school in Grease.
Exactly. Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
So speaking of Frankie Avalon, so you still probably not now because of COVID, but you still were
right.
touring solo and with Frankie and Fabian as part of the Golden Boys. So
Correct. Yeah.
how is that show, and how is it to work with some of your old time friends?
Oh, well, absolutely. It was wonderful. We started the show back in 1985, and the three of us got on the phone and talked to one another. Hey, would you like to do, and Frank and Fabe and Bob, and we all said, hey, that sounds like it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. So we got together, we put a show together, we rehearsed the show, and it was a tremendous success. We did something like 45 to 60 one-nighters back in 1985
Wow.
to SRO audiences. It was sold out. And it was a great show. It was a fun show. I mean, the three of us had been in the business for quite a few years. We weren't trying to prove anything to anybody. We just wanted the audience to have fun,
Sure.
like we were having fun on stage. And I turned to Frankie, who I called Cheech, an Italian Frank. I said, yo, Cheech, I said, this is wonderful, but how long is this going to last? A year, 2 years tops, and it's over. That was 1985. It's now 2021. We're still doing the show.
That's
And it's
amazing.
better today than it was back in 1985. Yeah.
That's amazing, and really shows your staying power and that you guys still have it after
I
all these years.
guess.
The nostalgic thing is coming back. I'm 30 years old, but I still love even my wife. I have a 4-year-old, and all we play is 50s, 60s music, and he loves it and dances
Good for
around to it.
you. Good for
So I
you,
mean,
Vince.
it's sticking around. It's got staying power, that's for
Well, I
sure.
mean, at least you can listen to the lyrics and understand them. What do you have
Exactly.
today? You start playing things you don't know what the hell's going on. Do you? Right? I mean, my God.
Exactly. So this might be a hard question, but you've played probably all over the world, everywhere. And do you have a favorite festival or venue, or something that sticks out in your head that you really love playing that place?
Outside of the United States of America, God bless us all, um, my favorite place to work is Australia. I've been down there something like 22, 23 times since 1960 was my first
Wow.
appearance there. And the Australian people are just absolutely wonderful. And they kind of like took me under their skin, because I had been there like so many times. They said, oh my God, mate, he's practically Australian. And it's just a wonderful country. The people are great. They truly love Americans. The music down there is phenomenal. They have some phenomenal artists, in Australia. And the weather is always great. The food is absolutely wonderful. So I would venture to say, outside of the good old USA, Australia is one of my favorite places to entertain.
That's cool. I hear, what's interesting, outside of the music world, I've interviewed a lot of Italian American comedians, and Italian American comedy is huge out in Australia because a lot of Italians actually immigrated to Australia, and so
Absolutely. Oh,
yeah,
there's quite a few Italian. Yeah, there's
yeah,
quite a few Italians in
yeah,
Australia.
yeah. So it's
You
pretty
know, I
amazing.
mean,
Yeah,
you know, yeah, I mean, you can go from the East Coast to the West Coast, from Sydney to Perth. And you'll find a lot of,
that's.
Goombas all over the place.
I just don't.
Goombas and paisans.
I just don't know if I could handle the airplane ride. That's a pretty long trip.
Well, yeah, yeah. Years ago, like back in 1960, we flew 707s,
Right.
and you would leave LA, and you would stop in Hawaii, and you would stop in Fiji to refuel.
Wow.
So that kind of broke up, the flight. You would go through the transit and, at least stretch your legs. Now, the past couple of times that I've been down there, last time was 2015, you're flying on an Airbus 380, and it's 15 hours and 40 minutes
Wow.
direct
Wow.
from
It's
LA
amazing.
to Sydney. But you know what is so great about it? Flying on business class, you have the seats that
Oh, right.
open
Yeah.
up, and you sleep.
Yeah. That's
You
true.
know, you're in the air like an hour. After about an hour, hour and a half, dinner is served. So you have your dinner, you watch maybe a movie, two movies, and then you go to sleep.
Yeah.
And by the time you know it, the purser's coming around. He says, "Would you like some breakfast, mate?" And you're like an hour out of Sydney. So
That's
it's
crazy.
not really all that bad.
Yeah.
It's not all that bad.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what does Bobby Rydell listen to today in music? Is there you listen to oldies, or do you have like a favorite new
Yes, I
artist?
do.
Okay.
When I'm in my car, I put on WIP, and that's sports talk radio. I want to see
Okay.
what the Phillies, the Flyers, the Sixers, the Eagles, so on are doing. Then after I get my fill of that, I'll put on seriously Sinatra and
Oh, sure.
listen to the old man for a while. And then I'll go to 50s on five, 60s on six,
Sure.
and just to hear the old music. It's wonderful.
Yeah, that's all I listen to. I got Sirius
Yeah.
XM 60s. My son knows he tells me to go to the Beatles channel all the time. He likes the Beatles at that. And I was going to ask you too. I was just reading this. So is this a true story that "She Loves You" by the Beatles might have been influenced by one of your songs? Is that true?
You know what? I don't know if it was not that everybody kind of thought that it came from swinging school. Yay, yay, yay! I go swinging school. But then I heard something about McCartney, and my last million seller was a song called "Forget Him."
Okay.
Forget him if he doesn't love you. So they wrote a tune called "She Loves You, Yeah, Yeah, Yeah."
Hmm.
So I don't know if it was swinging school, but I got to take it for granted that it was McCartney who said no, it was "Forget Him"
Hmm. That's
that
that's a
they
very
got. "She Loves You, Yeah, Yeah, Yeah."
Yeah, it's a cool story, and with you being such an idol in the late '50s, '60s, and what were your thoughts when the British invasion started happening? Mid '60s.
Well, like everybody else, Vinny, a lot of the disc jockeys, across the United States, just were playing British music for quite a few years. And then I think they all of a sudden had a brain fart, and they said, "Hey, wait a minute, let's get back to playing American music once again."
Right.
So, look at what's happening today. You got the hip hop, you got the rap, so you roll with the punches,
That's
you
right.
do what you do, and then you throw enough stuff against the wall and something's got to stick. And I've been in the business for going on to 61 years now. So
Wow.
I must be doing something right.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. You must be. So, I'm a young musician. I've been playing since very young. And my grandfather was an Italian musician, and kind of
Ah,
the way your father was to you. My grandfather, was more of a regional
uh-huh.
guy here in the Midwest,
Well,
and
what instrument do you play, Vin?
I'm the singer and the guitar player, so I'm the lead singer in the band.
Oh, very good,
Yeah.
very good,
So,
very good.
what advice would you have for someone like me or other people trying to follow in your footsteps?
The advice that I would give is just to work at your craft, nurture your craft as best as you could, and work as much as you possibly could. I don't care if you're making like $2 a night, just to go in and work in front of a live audience to get what kind of a feel you're getting, from the audience, because they can tell you right away, boo, you stink, or hey, yeah. So I would just say, to keep on working and just nurture your craft for as long as you possibly can and
Yeah.
fine tune it.
Yeah. One of the best pieces of advice my grandfather ever gave me. He came to the country from Sicily with nothing and went right into music, but he was a tailor. And so all his tailoring money went to fund his music love. And he used to go to Nashville, and he was with a lot of people. He actually tried to be a singer kind of in that era, and had broken English, so he was doing the Italian stuff. But
Right. I didn't know there were a lot of Italians in Nashville.
no, he was really one of the only ones. There's but he changed his name to the Italian Country Boy to try to fit in with the country thing. And actually, two of the songs that he wrote were his biggest hits were country songs. And
How about that?
most money he ever made, and he didn't even speak really English, but he wrote two country songs. So it's kind of funny how
Wow,
that
that's amazing.
but
That's
one of
so
the
cool.
But one of the big pieces of advice he gave me, and I'm glad I followed it, especially with the way COVID's destroying a lot of the music industry, is he always said, have a insurance policy for your life. So get a degree in something you can fall back on, because you never know. And I'm glad I got my master's in accounting, because it's tough. It's tough right now, being a musician. We were playing 100 dates a year with my band, and now it's zero. It's amazing how it's just crippled the music
I know.
industry.
Yeah. My last engagement was last March, like the 14th. But I think things are starting to turn around, because I leave for Florida March the 17th. I fly to Orlando, and we do 2 days at a place called the Claremont Performing Arts Center.
Sure, yeah.
On the 18th and the 19th. So maybe things are starting to open up. I've had so many dates that have either been canceled or postponed. They're still on, on the book, as far as Bobby Rydell's tour dates, but they've been moved.
Right.
So
yeah, it's tough.
But but hopefully, as things go on, hopefully by springtime, things will start changing and more venues will start opening up again.
I hope so. And so one of my final questions for you, I ask this to everybody on the show, since it's about Italian American entertainment. What is your hope for the future of Italian American entertainment? And do you have a good feeling that there's others like us, Italian Americans, that will be continuing Italian American music and the culture within the United States?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, 1,000%. I mean, if you really want to stop and look at it, 99% of singers are Italian and 1% are Jewish. The comedians,
Right.
You got most of the comedians are Jewish and most of the singers are Italian.
That's true.
So I think the future looks pretty bright for us Italian Americans.
I hope so. And I'm seeing, like I said, I'm 30 years old, but I'm seeing a lot of younger my age really coming out, now the past couple years, and really focusing more on that culture and, keeping the Italian American thing going. What my band used to play is the Italian festivals. So we travel the country, and, I'd see, it's getting younger and younger, which is good.
Where'd you say you were from? Chicago?
Chicago area. So Rockford, Illinois.
Okay, Rockford, Illinois. Well, we used to do the Italian festival there. Like near Soldiers Field, there was a big Italian
So there's
outdoor festival.
So yeah, there's Taylor Street Fest in Chicago. That's a big one, and a guy named Ron Onesty also runs the Arcadia
Oh, I
Theater.
know Ron. I
Yeah,
know
so
Ron very well.
yeah,
Yeah.
Ron's a good friend of mine too. He's been on this show. He's a good guy, and
Yeah, he's a
on,
sweetheart.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
only about 45 minutes from where I live. He has the
Uh-huh.
theater, and then he does the a couple Italian
Well,
festivals.
I've done his theater.
Oh,
I've
good,
done his theater. Oh yeah, I've done his theater, and we're on the books to do it again.
good,
And
good.
once again, it's been postponed, 2 times already. But
Sure.
that's a wonderful theater to work. The
It
Arcana
is.
Theater. Yeah,
It's
and
beautiful.
he's a great guy to work for.
He is. He is. He's done a lot to help me get my start, now 12 years
Good.
ago, getting me into Italian festivals and things. So he's a
Oh,
great
that's
guy.
wonderful. That's
But
great, Vin.
yeah, so before we go, I know it's tough right now, like we said with COVID about upcoming dates, but how do people find out more about your dates, if you got any tour dates, and also the book that you released, your
Yeah, well,
autobiography?
as far as the tour dates and my book is concerned, you just go to BobbyRydell.com and you'll see tours, right? And then merchandise. Now, under the merchandise, you can get like hats that say Volare,
Okay.
coffee mugs with my picture on there. And the book is on there as well. Bobby Rydell, Teenage Idol on the Rocks, A Tale of Second Chances, a book that I'm very, very proud of. And so that's how they can, find out where I'm going to be working. And if they want to buy the book, BobbyRydell.com.
Perfect. Well, I'll include links to all that on the video and on the audio podcast, so people can find out more and get your book and anything else and listen to your music. It's great music. I was listening to Wild One with my son, and he's a wild one, so he really liked it. So we're trying to calm him down. He's at that age, 4 years old. He won't
Oh,
stop.
well, what do
So
you expect?
yeah,
For sure.
exactly. But once again, I really appreciate you coming on, and it was an honor talking to you. And it's great, another great Italian American in the music industry, and really appreciate that. Especially you're still going. That's amazing. So
Well, grazie, Vincenzo.
yeah, well, thank you very much, and thank you everybody for tuning in to the Italian American Entertainment Podcast. And we'll catch you next time. Thank you.